Nerdrotic.com.
All right, so we're going to go around the horn. We're going to do spoiler-free thoughts on Spider-Man Brand New Day. We're going to start with Shad.
So overall, I found this movie very meh to a little bit above average, but I can see why people are loving it. On a surface level, you get to see Spider-Man be Spider-Man, and that's kind of been my gripe with all the other MCU ones. And like, you know, the first one, there was a Homecoming I enjoyed, but then the next two I did not like. But trying to judge this film just on its own, this one actually does feel like Spider-Man. It gets kind of that core. Like narratively, there's a lot of problems, but at its base, like it gets the kind of the things that it needs right. I think it suffers dramatically from not having a strong antagonist, and there is a lot of just like don't think about this stuff, hand wavy stuff. He develops certain things throughout the film, which he has no justification, just in the backyard. You know, where is he getting certain money to support himself? Hey, all these things aren't really addressed, and that's a bit of a letdown. Like Spider-Man is always like traditionally. He has struggled to support himself. That's been a thing because being a superhero takes away from him having a job. They don't really address any of that. It's just he's being Spider. But the thing on the surface level, people want to see Spider-Man be Spider-Man. This movie kind of delivers that. I do like that he's wearing his mask a lot throughout the film. There was a couple of times when I think taking off the mask, but that's kind of like my overall thing. Like, it's the type of movie that if you start to think about it, you're going to start to find some pretty big problems. Yes. But if you're just like a normie that wants Spider-Man, it's delivering on that front, and it seems like people are really enjoying it. But my takeaway, like I said, very meh for me when I came out of it because of those problems. There were things I liked, a lot of things I disliked. That's where I'm sitting with it at the moment.
All right, Garrett.
I really enjoyed it. I think this is one of, if not the best performance from Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I feel like he finally locked in. I liked his performance has always been pretty consistently good, but I feel like this one he felt like he knew what he wanted to do with this character in this movie. Definitely have issues with the villain. Like Shad just said, it has a problem with the villain. It's not really a villain. It's like a thing. So there's problems with that, but I feel like the it's a little bifurcated because of there's one side that's telling a story over here about that villain, and then there's the Peter Parker and him changing and all that stuff and dealing with his friends and things, aspects of that. I feel like those parts worked really well. If it was focused on just that, I think it would be a phenomenally better film. But overall, I enjoyed it coming out of it. I liked all the character interactions between him and Punisher and him and the Hulk. The Hulk fight was rad. Just a little kid comic book brain. I go, that's awesome. We got the Hulk's like the line. There's no banner, only Hulk. Then he does a smash, like that was awesome. So like that on that level, it was hitting really well. But yeah, there are a lot of problems with the villain specifically.
Comics.
I had a lot of fun watching the movie. There are some things that they did which was great. I love kind of the buddy cop aspect between Spider-Man and the Punisher. The fight scenes were really well done, the swinging scenes as well, but holy fuck is the plot stupid as hell. And that's kind of the biggest weakness of this movie. It is the actual story. Of course, we really can't get into the whole thing with spoilers because of the antagonist, but it definitely kind of gives you some WandaVision vibes. But overall, like I said, had a lot of fun. And I hate saying this because it's like, if you think about the movie, you're going to see a lot of issues with it and you might not like it. And God forbid, I'm never going to tell someone to turn their brain off when they
I was going to say MauLer's here. Do not bring up turning your brain off.
Yeah, no, I just kidding.
Try it. I tell you.
I think there's a way where you can be cognitively aware of the problems with it, but then also be aware of how fun.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of potential to this movie, and it's sad where that falls flat. But overall, like I said, I had a lot of fun with it.
Fake Wizard.
All right. So spoiler free, I like what Tom Holland did with it.
I like what Tom Holland did with Peter Parker and Spider-Man. I feel as if he has said that he's been paying attention to what like fans are saying online, like us. And I feel like he's been listening to the conversation of people constantly comparing Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and him. And he was like, no, I'm going to lock in and really put in a good performance. And I think he did. Everything that has to do with the villain and the cameos, I have major problems with. I agree everything that Chad said about like as soon as you start thinking about this, it falls apart immediately. And to some extent, I could try to throw. MauLer's going to tear this apart. Try to throw an explanation out there of when you look at Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, that's a great movie on its own. Before it's a comic book movie, before it is a great movie, before it's a Spider-Man movie, even though it is. This feels like it's a comic book movie first before it's a movie. And I think that is something for like maybe we can talk about later. Clearly there's inspiration here from the Insomniac PlayStation video games, 100%, especially with the combat, which I thought the combat was awesome. I think my biggest, we can't talk about the villain yet, and we'll rage. We
will just in a moment. General thoughts.
Yeah. The implications on this movie make me walk away and say, I don't want any more Avengers. I don't want any more MCU. I just want Spider-Man movies, and everybody else could just cameo in the Spider-Man movies. That's because we look at like, oh, what's next? Like Doomsday. I feel dread looking at Doom. I don't want to watch that, but I would love to see another Spider-Man movie if this is like the kind of quality that they're going to put out and then learn from the mistakes here. Like I would love to see more of that. I think this makes everything on Disney Plus that's like street level look terrible. This makes Daredevil Born Again look even worse than it already did because that exists in the continuity here somehow.
We'll get to that too.
Yeah, the Punisher tie-in with the whatever the movie was, One Last Shot, whatever that was. That looks terrible next to this too.
Yes,
like when this Punisher is so much more charismatic than anything we've seen with Disney so far, but. I'm at like a 7.5 territory. The problems I have with this are, damn, we were this close to greatness, I think.
Odin.
When it comes to the film itself, obviously it's hard to really talk about without getting into spoilers. I liked the movie, but I definitely did not love it. I found that there were a lot of fun moments throughout, but not nearly as many fun moments as were in No Way Home. It's kind of like the bar that I'm kind of, gauging there, because I know No Way Home's got a lot of problems too, but I mean, everything about the cameos and everything with Toby and Andrew Garfield, like all that stuff, it just made the movie so much fun, and it was actually done well enough to where I wanted to go back and actually watch it again. With this one, I like certain aspects to it, but basically anything MCU, which is luckily not too much of the film, but enough for it to be a major distraction, anything MCU related was really bad and was very distracting. And so that's why I like the film. I did not love the film. And again, we'll go into more details when we get into spoilers.
Disparu.
I liked probably about 60% of it. I thought that was excellent. And then there's the connective tissue between those scenes that just stopped everything. And that was my main issue with it. If this movie had stopped 90 minutes in, I think I would have liked it a lot more. But it just goes on and I think ruins everything that came before. There's plenty of... I liked the interaction between Spider-Man, Hulk, and the Punisher. And I would have preferred to see that expanded rather than what we've got between like him and MJ. I think if you're going to bring in these other characters, they should be for a reason. Not just because it'd be cool to watch them fight, but... what is it about that character that conflicts with Spider-Man, and like where can they have that kind of clash of sort of ideologies or philosophies or how they deal with situations? I didn't really think there was anything of that there. It was just more, this would be a cool fight, which it was. I just wish there was more. Instead, there was a lot more emotional stuff with his friends. And I just, given previous movies, I kind of wish that had been replaced with other stuff. I'll talk about it more in the spoilers. There was also other ideas brought up which I wish had been expanded on, especially with the Hulk. Quite a few times there was an interesting sentence and then it was just forgotten about, or an idea, and that's gone and replaced with something else. Really hated what they did with the villain. Really liked it at first, then that was undermined itself. And I just felt there was a lot of that with those sort of...
just as it's building up something, it's like, no, we got to go over here now and we're going to do something else. It felt like the movie that I wanted. I think they're trying to please two different audiences, and I'm not sure you can do that when they have such polar opposite opinions of things. But the combat, excellent, especially where it's Spider-Man versus multiple people. That was great.
All right. Ryan.
Yeah, why'd you say it like that? I really liked it.
I felt like it.
I really liked it. I think Tom Holland gives a great performance, and I think the movie's strengths are its like character work and the emotion that is tied to those characters. And I think it can work on a multitude of levels for depending on the person watching it, whether you're talking about like somebody that's dealing with a heartbreak, whether you're talking about somebody who just feels lonely in the world. Whether you're talking about someone who's lost their connection with friends. I think a lot of that stuff hit pretty hard, hit harder than I expected it to, especially considering I haven't really cared all that much about Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the MCU as a whole. I really enjoyed the Spider-Man Punisher stuff to a limit. I think there was points in the movie where I was like, okay, we've had that, we've had enough of that, let's move on. Overall, I think their dynamic is really good. I have concerns about what they're going to do with the Punisher after this movie, because I don't know how some things can work in the aftermath of this movie that I have criticisms about, which I'll get into. From a story plot element, I think a lot of this movie seems rushed. And I think that's because of the third act and what the focus was on in the third act, which I have issues with. But there are things that are like, okay, if you're going to do that, there either has to be some ramifications or some explanation, which we didn't get. And I think that happened a lot at little points throughout the movie that leads to what you guys are talking about in terms of, if you think about this, well, why didn't they show us this? What happens with this? What happens with that? There's a lot of questions you can ask yourself while watching this movie. I think it's a better movie than No Way Home. And I think the fact that it hits emotionally harder, in my mind, a true emotionally harder, as opposed to just based on nostalgia, I think is pretty impressive considering what we saw with No Way Home. So overall, I really liked it. I don't think it's some perfect movie. And there's certainly things to talk about, especially in regards to a character that they set up, the antagonist, if not the villain, which we'll get to in spoilers.
All right. Vara.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed this movie. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. But I still felt that it was a good film overall. I do think that the first and the second half end up feeling quite different from one another. Now, I do think that both of those different tones were sort of needed. I just wish that the transition was done a little bit more seamlessly. The antagonist, I didn't have any major problems with. I do think that obviously they're trying to set up for this character to be part of the, larger universe and this larger storyline that they want to do. But I thought the acting was very good in this movie for most of the performances. Definitely a step up from some of the other films. I was not a fan of Homecoming or Far From Home. I liked like Mysterio, for example, but at the same time, that was a very almost small portion of that film when you really get into how many different locations there are and how many different characters you're sort of balancing. But it felt like a Spider-Man movie, which I really appreciated, because a lot of the times you end up having, like in Homecoming and Far From Home, they're more so Iron Man villains, and it felt like the focus was not as much on Spider-Man in a way. It's just like Spider-Man was cleaning up this mess, and that doesn't necessarily happen in this. I really enjoyed the team up between Spider-Man and Punisher, and I thought that their dynamic was pretty good. I do think that the plot overall was a bit weaker, but at least in the movie you see Spider-Man being Spider-Man. It felt almost closer to like Tobey's first and second films, and definitely not as good. I know I'm still blinded by nostalgia. Though I really enjoyed the inspiration from the Insomniac games. Tom Holland has even come out and said, a lot of the finishing moves and a lot of the combat was heavily inspired by that. There's like a web cyclone move that's highlighted in the games that they put into this, and I had my problems with Spider-Man 2 as well for the Insomniac titles. But overall, I thought that it was a pretty solid experience overall, and it gives me like a little bit of hope, but at the same time, I know that this still isn't just Disney making all of these decisions, and we're probably going to get trash going forward. I mean, maybe Doomsday will be good, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Cautiously optimistic.
I'll go. I'll let MauLer go last.
Why?
Do you want? Okay, MauLer, go.
No, you got this.
Okay. I turned off my brain and really enjoyed the movie.
Gary, no!
I liked it. I liked it. I've seen it twice. I felt the same. I felt a little better about it upon second viewing. The issues that we will get deeply into are the issue with the villain is valid, and it keeps it from being a much higher score for me. So, and there's one little thing you could have done at the end to fix it that I'll get into in the spoilers, but this is okay. So the Watts trilogy was something I wasn't super on board for because I am a Spider-Man fan from the comics and I want to see Spider-Man. They obviously didn't have that take, but No Way Home made me feel a lot better about what they were doing. And I'm like, okay, I'm aboard for this ride. And I went back and watched Homecoming. I enjoyed Homecoming. There's things that still bother me, but I enjoyed Homecoming. I don't like Far From Home. I still don't like Far From Home. And I don't think I'll ever like Far From Home. And I like No Way Home. What I liked about this movie is it's Tom Holland fucking kills it. He is great. He becomes Spider-Man, not Spider-Boy. He becomes Spider-Man. And what really worked for me, to echo what Ryan said, was it hit me in the feels.
Yeah.
The emotional aspect is at times surface level, but at times really good. And it's all based on performance. And when I have a character that I connect to in something, I can forgive some stuff because there are certainly, there's questions. And I'll bring up those questions in the spoiler section. But I watched it in 2 crowded theaters. They were pretty enthusiastic. But the most important part is when I walked out of the movie, I felt pretty good. I'm like, man, I really like that. I had a good time. If only they had done one fucking thing at the end, I would have given it 8, 9 out of 10. But the problem is the villain, the quote unquote villain, and what they do with the villain and the ramifications it has on this film and on future films. And what Disparu brought up, there's a couple of aspects with the Punisher and Hulk where they start getting into them. And I'm like, I'm really interested in this. And there was some setting up for future, the whole other storyline that we'll get into, which is Peter's powers evolving due to stress and trauma. That's from a J. Michael Straczynski graphic novel called The Other, and I thought it was shoehorned in. And when I heard it was going to be in it, I thought it would be shoehorned in. But I thought they actually dealt with it pretty well, and it didn't dominate the story, but it became part of the story. So yeah, I like the movie. MauLer.
How's everyone doing?
I'm good, man.
All right, let's go to war. We're ready for it.
So to set this up, MauLer, you loved Homecoming and Far From Home, right?
I think Homecoming is really good. Far From Home is mixed. There's a lot of problems in there, but it's the thing that I like about the Home trilogy is the through line for the character. I think they did a really good job trying to argue what it would look like if we're forced, like shackled into the MCU and then Spider-Man appears. And so they use lots of elements to try and draw him in. Homecoming has some of the best world building, weirdly, in like all the MCU films. That and Civil War that's like the era in Phase 3 where they try to rebuild things before everything collapses. And yeah, No Way Home's ending, I was like, he did it. That's what I thought he was going to do, and he did it. Where we finally got him to the point now where he's ready for his adult trilogy. But,
yep.
Yeah, I went and saw this film.
Yeah, you did.
Care to elaborate?
Right then.
We're waiting.
Let it rip, buddy.
I think it would be kind to describe the movie as lobotomized dog shit. Spider-Man is a stalking, invertebrate, agencyless loser The Punisher is a retarded, spineless coward. There's no exploration of the fundamental difference between their sort of approach to rehabilitation or retribution. They just do memes. Is a irredeemable, psychopathic, completely fucking bailed out monster by
It's supposed to be spoiler free, but
It's supposed to
come on,
be.
we're like an hour and a half in.
It's like the world's worst secret.
Yeah, but we're gonna
I
warn
noticed
people
this.
before we get to spoilers.
I don't even think that one's a spoiler, honestly. This is more of a meme.
Of spoilers, that's the most light. That's the light.
Well, I mean, I did kind of blast that out. To be fair to MauLer, I was totally not the first person to say that. So, but Graves in it.
Can you just put the spoiler paddle and we just
Yeah.
talk about them now?
Let's go. But MauLer, you keep going, baby.
So, yeah, I would say she's an irredeemable psychopathic monster, and she's bailed out by both of our great, pristine heroes. The story has no idea that seems to be happening for her or for them throughout the whole thing. The Hulk is on his fucking 17th humiliation ritual chapter. The Hand have been reduced to hired goons that wander around an office. Yelena is at her most like aggressively pointless and obstructive, despite having 2 minutes of screen time. Scorpion, Tombstone, the other additions, they're all false advertising. DeWolf, Metzger, and Yelena, they're all Peter's like instructors and babysitters. Whenever Peter doesn't have them, he has a personally built-in AI that feeds him all plot points. He has to like wait around and fuck around until he gets told where the plot is so we can move on. I haven't mentioned Ned only exists as a pointless fucking screen time vampire. Michelle Jones, in principle, shouldn't even be in the story, only exists for marketing and marriage, I guess, is at this point. But her presence, I think, just undermines the entire through line for the home trilogy. Almost every character, as far as I'm concerned, is humiliated, assassinated, or treated like a chore to include because they want to draw in fans with false promises. It's a ridiculously forgiving world that stands in like this really annoying contrast with the last scene we saw, because Peter's like equipped with a small empty apartment, a sewing machine, a custom-made suit, and fucking bankruptcy. Now he has immense technology, a magical 3D printer, the capacity to alter his fucking DNA, limitless finance, means institutional influence, like with multiple cross sections, fucking and complete social satisfaction by the end of the movie. The plot's in tatters. Everyone is retarded to get us to every single payoff. No fight sequence with any villain or any mini boss has much of any personal issue or philosophical difference with Peter Parker or Spider-Man. The vast majority aren't even aware they are fighting him. The thematic value's been skewered from all the work, as far as I'm concerned, that John Watts set up, and we've reset the chance of getting to Spider-Man to have a complete regression into Spider-Boy, as far as I'm concerned. It's insulting garbage and easily the worst Spider-Man movie in the MCU. It's not even close.
Tell us how you
I think it's the best Spider-Man movie in the MCU. I think there's a lot of validity to the criticism, specifically because we are in spoilers now. Like, you have to address Jean Grey killing people, right?
Yeah.
Like, that has to be addressed.
Yes.
And I think the way you do that is by, in the movie, don't have her kill people, right?
Well,
I think that's
Why
the
was she
easiest way
doing
to go about it. Because there has to be, and that's what I meant by things that need to be addressed. For instance, like Jean Grey, Punisher driving around in the middle of the day, walking into a hospital room and staying there for who knows how long. Like, there are so many things. It's like, well, if you're like going to do that, you have to show me like why. You have to explain to me like how this is happening and why this is happening. That Punisher is just in broad daylight taking these actions and seemingly whatever, not worried about it. You have to show a ramification for Jean Grey and her actions, despite what the purpose of her going to save her sister, find her sister, this fucking evil group of people that were torturing her. Like, there has to be something. I think that's the biggest failure of the movie.
One of the major problems with the film, when you start to think about it, right? Like, mind control is an insane, and I mean insanely powerful ability, right? So much so that all the problems Jean Grey is supposedly facing with what she's trying to achieve, she could have achieved instantly without any difficulty at all. She just needs to mind control the right person, problem solved. And so every single conflict that this film is based on is actually based on nothing, a misdirect, a stupid, like an absolute plot hole, because there shouldn't be that. Why is she driving an armored car into a building with a bomb when she could just mind hop her way through, find where she needs to go, get
Oh,
the
Chad,
effects?
let's be a little
Just
bit
hit
more
the
detailed
director
here,
when he's at
shall we?
home.
Her decision, she needs to jump into Metzger, get his memory, and get her answer. That's it.
Yes,
She instead
that's it.
decides
Yeah.
to do this by kidnapping with mind rape a janitor into a tank, into the Department of Damage Control's correctional facility with a bomb to explode it, to then create a distraction so she can mind rape another DODC guy, to then facilitate Scorpion getting released from Belle Reve, to then use him to go into DODC's data centers, to try and distract people so that she can hack the machines to find out what VMAX means. She is a quantum retard. I don't know what the fuck she's doing.
Jean Grey is the crux of the entire, like, anything that's wrong with this movie revolves around Jean Grey. It's her that's been shoehorned into the movie. It feels to me like she wasn't originally part of the idea of like whatever this movie was going to be, and they said,
She wasn't.
"Oh, we need to set up X-Men. Let's put an X-Men character in. Let's pick Jean Grey for some fucking reason, and then let's put her in there, and then give her these powers that are like story-breaking powers, and they cause ripple effects to the story."
Well,
but everything outside of that, I love that stuff, and I'm like, we just
a better person, if you has to be an X-Men, would be Emma Frost, who they cast today.
Yes.
Or if you want to bring back Kilgrave, I'm fine with that too. Mr. Negative, which was what a lot of people were thinking. So yeah, I don't know if they put her in. The explanation I got from the guy who worked on the movie, I'm not saying this justifies anything because I don't think it does, but the explanation was they are going to present the X-Men in the future, which I think is terrible, by the way. I think this is awful, as a morally ambiguous X-Men. So are you guys, I don't know about you, I am done with moral ambiguity in my superhero movies. I'm fucking
through that.
done.
But this is
the thing is with moral ambiguity.
Well,
Yeah, she's psychotically
straight up evil.
So moral ambiguity is someone like the Punisher who is like, you've done something wrong, I will go further than the law will. That is, but he's still just. It's just depending on whether you think that someone else should handle the justice or him. But their version of moral ambiguity is, oh, I just do evil things, but actually, because I was sad as a child, it's okay. And that's just.
I walk an old man into the street and let him get hit by a car for reasons.
So as you guys brought up, we get into the morals of WandaVision, Black Widow, and Wonder Woman 84. Like we fully get into that because, okay, you can say. We saw one guy get killed. One guy walks in front of a car and gets hit by a car. That guy's fucking dead.
Yes.
But there's also, well, she shot some guys in the knee. Okay, they'll never walk again. You know, like, or they might bleed out because she hit an artery. We don't know. And there is a giant like mind wave that she does that goes over a kilometer of the city that obviously caused. Which makes everybody freeze. So everybody driving a car, everybody flying a helicopter, everybody flying a plane, anybody operating any machinery, they're dead.
The hospital.
Yeah, the people in the hospital.
Well, not to mention that when
you've
she
got
was
the
hijacking the tank, and how many people were injured or killed with that tank rampaging through the city?
And the bomb.
The moment Spider-Man turns up, he starts
They
shooting
did
it.
Right.
they evacuated, let's evacuate.
So the
No,
key
but
difference with
intention.
something like this for character is
Intention,
whether or not
Intention.
anyone did die, it's what she's capable of. We're criticizing
Right,
character.
Yeah. She threw MJ off a roof. It doesn't matter if Spider-Man saved her because she still wanted her to jump off the roof.
I do have to say, though, with the body hopping acting, I thought that was really well done.
Yeah,
I thought
I
all
like
those
the rules that they
performances were
established
really
around
solid.
it, like the
Yeah.
33 feet or what. I like
Yep.
the rules that they established around it initially before she like totally gets her powers. It is also kind of impossible to not think about Stranger Things when you watch this.
Yeah.
Because
Because she's not acting.
Well, it put Sadie Sink in the exact same position her character was in.
Yeah.
Stranger
kind
Things.
of, right? Because you have somebody who had a traumatic childhood, who lost a sibling, but then you also have the aspect of these telekinetic powers, obviously, that she doesn't have in the show. But you know what I mean? When you
She's
see that, it's
affected
impossible
by
to
them
see.
heavily in Stranger Things.
I was waiting for her nose to
the
start bleeding.
Yeah, when she was running slow motion to get to her sister, I was just thinking,
Keep running up that road. Running up that hill.
Exactly.
No problem.
I'm sure there's got to be an edit out there somewhere.
The iconic scene where
will be now.
DC apparently have a sting operation to capture her, but they didn't realize the girl she was sitting with the whole time was her sister, even though they have it on record and they have it
And then they let her
biology.
leave.
And she yells Sarah as they take her.
Well, even the
I
picture of that
just wanted
scene-
Sarah.
So that scene was pitched as if, oh, we were just in the park doing innocent things, and then they came and kidnapped us. No, you were possessing people, innocent people,
We're
in
mind
a park.
raping people in the park.
Mind raping,
Exactly. Like they were controlling things. There was a reason for it, why it was there, and it's just treated.
There's a
and also,
much better way you
that
could
actually affects what Spider-Man thinks of the scene around that, and he doesn't have any knowledge of that scene. The only thing he knows is that they took a sister.
Yeah.
Maybe they took her because she was evil, but
Spider-Man
because
more
the
of its
audience
own.
now knows that.
The thing is,
Spider-Man acts as if he knows.
the mistake they made is not portraying her as a teenager who's bounced around foster homes, who probably doesn't have a good moral gauge right now, but like does
But that
little
would be
things like that, but not any, which is still bad, by the way,
the
and doesn't
murdering.
realize they're bad. It's
I-
when we
I
get up
love
to the murdering part.
The murdering.
I'm fine
Can we,
with that.
can we
That's
just talk about the fact that the actual villain of this movie was a black man and how
Yes.
fucking amazing that is? Thank you for making a black man the villain.
Unprecedented.
Wait, like when I was like watching and I realized the way it was going, I was like, fuck yes.
Well, I knew his name, so he's a villain in the comics.
Exactly.
So yeah.
So if we're
Um,
clear, Gene is
right.
much more the villain than he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I
hold on, because this guy is a villain. It's one thing if they had just locked up her sister because her powers were out of control. That's not what they were doing, and they ended up killing her, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so let's not pretend like this guy's
I
actually
didn't say that. I
fucking
said
justified.
she's much more the
Right.
villain than he is.
But I think that when it comes to me, the things that I really liked about the film, the third act is probably the worst part because it is where you get
And it's
into
kind of
so
a
much
second,
Gene
third
stuff.
act. So
It
Chris
is kind
wasn't
of a
wrong
second, third act.
about that.
Yeah, agreed.
For me, a lot of the Spider-Man stuff worked really well in terms of him. Look, they play a short montage at the beginning of, hey, this is where I've been the past couple of years, of him just committing to a life solely as Spider-Man, basically. Keeping tabs on Ned, keeping tabs on MJ, and obviously missing them, but just completely and totally focusing on being Spider-Man. And it works. The city loves him. He's cleaned up the streets. They do a short montage of different villains that he's captured and things that he's been through and like show how he's grown. And
We're also
like
going to Aunt May's grave as well. And
Yeah,
that
kind of
keeping
yeah.
it grounded of like, that's right, I have to be responsible. I have to be
Would have been cool to
responsible.
see that movie.
yeah,
Right.
but by the way, screw Uncle Ben. That's still just like, let's forget about him existing.
Well, but Gary, have you heard about how they were changing this movie and how it was originally something different with Jean Grey involved, and there was a different villain originally? Because I did.
Oh,
hear?
what did you hear? I only heard like from actor production, so I didn't hear anything. before
And
that.
Tom Holland kind of referenced this a couple of days ago in Variety. They said that at some point, I think it was like on the red carpet, they asked him something about the process, and then he kind of confirmed that with test screenings, like what they were showing people, and we did hear about these test screenings, people
Yeah.
hated the ending of the original, what this movie was going to be. And then the rumors surrounding that was that Spider-Man died at the end because the villain was originally somebody else who was doing the body jumping. And they framed Jean Grey. Jean Grey was kind of a frame job, but then they ended up like changing this out and making
that makes
her
more
into
sense.
the
That
villain.
makes so much
It is-
sense.
that's
I
why
would've
it feels like
preferred
there's two different
Yeah.
movies here, and there's
So
something
who
where
was the
that's a really
original?
good scene.
Who was the original villain?
Well, the rumor is that it was Jackal.
Okay,
Which didn't make sense, but it was
No.
supposed to be Jackal was body
doesn't have
jumping.
those kind of powers
Well,
or parties.
That
Yeah.
Tombstone had a much bigger role in this, that Scorpion had a much bigger role in this, both of which were reduced down because all of their footage had to be cut down so that you would believe that they were, that Scorpion specifically was mind controlled, but he had way more going on, and it was much more of a Spider-Man Rogues Gallery movie.
That's
What
the
we
movie.
got
Well, yeah,
was a
Scorpion-
soft launch for X-Men. It is
Scorpion
not a
was set up.
Spider-Man movie.
I
He's
also
got a history with Spider-Man, and then he ends up in
yeah.
this movie just mind control. You don't get any Scorpion. Like I said, it's false advertising on the fucking trailers. That's not Scorpion. That's Jean
Yeah.
Grey.
No,
and,
it's Jean.
and
it's
that's
Jean
like
Grey.
one of the biggest issues that I have is that we were like almost promised all of these villains and all of these fights, and they are in them in it just in a much smaller role or like in a 2-second clip. And I think that she needed more of a sort of like redemption arc by the end for us to feel satisfied with her just kind of driving into the sunset and disappearing, like Parker potentially dying and like being close to death and her saving him, something that was a lot more emotionally challenging and that I don't want to say completely redeemed her, but set her up for a full-on redemption arc, which she needed because she was killing people. But they didn't really do that. They just sort of fade to black, and then they do show that she is helping him breathe.
Right, yeah.
Which
She
is
did save
good,
him, yes.
but
That's
I
like the
feel
bare
like that's
minimum.
not
Yeah.
enough. That's right, like the bare minimum of what they could have done. So
What they should have done, if you're going to stick with what they got, okay, we could say that Jean Grey shouldn't have been in it at all. But what they should have done is something as simple as have her go turn herself in willingly.
Oh,
Right.
Gary, I feel like you're referencing something there. A certain faith, maybe, that earns the recovery by spending, is it 2 years in prison until the heroes need their power?
Yep.
Which is what you could have
And-
done with Jean. You have her
Well,
come out.
they
of prison
also
because
set
they
that
hate
up
her.
for the
It's been
Hulk.
really simple, and you can, and at that end, she's locked up. She doesn't get let go, and you see a wheelchair rolling up to her cell, and that's it. You don't even have to show Professor X.
Yeah, and they also were sort of like setting up for characters to potentially come into the picture later because of the Hulk. What they did with the Hulk is they sent him to a fucking mental institution, and they're like, "Oh, see you later." Right, right. So like they're clearly willing to just sort of push characters.
I feel like that
into
was a setup
setting.
for Secret Wars. That I mean, that felt like a
They're
setup for
putting a
Secret
character
Wars.
in this position.
Which
Right, this
makes
position
no
where
fucking
you know
sense,
where
by the
they
way.
are
But-
and that they are unable to sort of move from that place so that you could easily access them later on if you felt like it.
One thing to keep in mind is this movie was not supposed to be before Doomsday. It was supposed to be
Right.
after, right? So this was not a movie that was made to set up where these characters are during Doomsday. But in terms of where they would be at Secret Wars, that is something.
But changing Hulk back to Savage Hulk was a good move.
Yes.
Thank God.
It was so nice to see actual Hulk again.
I am absolutely for him just staying Savage Hulk and never turning back into Bruce Banner ever again. And you could just have a stunt guy with a mocap suit on saying Hulk smash. I'm fine with that.
There's the scene where we're having their battle with the Hulk, right? And I'm thinking, why didn't Peter just put the inhibitor on him? Why would he wait for Bruce? But then I also thought, I like that he's.
I didn't give a fuck.
Like,
He's
fuck it, I
Hulk
don't care.
again. It's fucking. It was
Like,
awesome. I wish there was more. But yeah, they're definitely setting up Savage Hulk for Secret Wars.
Yeah.
I love that we didn't really even get Bruce. It was Jean, and then it was Savage Hulk, which gives up after like 8 years of dormancy because he's got vague recollection.
I would have rather had Sadie Sink play Bruce Banner than fucking Mark Ruffalo.
Well, hey, Gary, I got no issue with Mark Ruffalo being sent to a psychiatric hospital. Okay, but the problem is Hulk gets sent there, Bruce gets sent there, and Frank and Peter do nothing about it, even though they know he was mind controlled.
Yeah, that doesn't get acknowledged.
Some super fucked up shit. And then
the biggest omission, MauLer, was apparently Peter completely ignored the Wilson Fisk administration where Kingpin killed a bunch of people in City Hall.
Yeah, well, because we get told like he's actually taken New York's crime down to like the best it's ever been and all this stuff, but apparently you have this one little section, the fucking mayor who runs it like during the same time.
With Kingpin the whole time when he was doing terrible shit and she knew it.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I'm
look
going
at
to
the
put that on
Punisher.
the
He's
Daredevil show, though.
Punisher is wanted by both the law and criminal organizations, and yet he's just out driving
hanging
around.
out in the hospital.
All right.
Yes, hanging
Punisher
out.
Punisher in this movie has nothing to do with the fucking Daredevil. It is
Yeah.
it is a completely different MCU
how do
Punisher.
you have him as a secondary character and you don't get a breakdown of their difference in philosophy?
Yeah, it's
And it
very
gets worse
surface
'cause at
level
the
from
end,
that in
It's
terms of
pretty
hey,
surface level. It's there, but
I
it's
kill people, I
surface
put
level.
them
Yeah, it
down
is.
kind of thing. Whereas you want to be a pussy and save everybody, and some people need to get what's coming to them, and blah blah blah. Very surface level.
Yeah.
I
Well, the
liked
problem
their
with this
dynamic though. I thought they were.
Yeah, I love
No,
it.
it is a great dynamic.
I liked
The issue
it
is
to a point.
the issue is at the end.
He hammed
goes
it up a
from,
little bit too much.
I'm going to shoot her in the face, and actually tries to oh, she kept you alive. She's all right. In about 30 seconds.
So
and the only thing
Punisher
that happens is
fucking
she heals fine.
apologizes for shooting her. That's assassination as far as I'm concerned.
Well, he apologizes for hitting him.
That's the
But
fucking that is
Yeah.
Peter's fault for getting in the fucking way.
he
And that is how
apologizes for
Punisher
not
would feel
trusting
about it.
Peter to
He'd be
get
like, you
done.
moron child, taking the bullet for a fucking monster. What is wrong with you? Like, what happened to the guy from Daredevil? The Netflix show, not the bullshit.
So
He was
my
taught.
issue is when I talk about
Peter
Punisher,
wouldn't let
I don't know
Punisher
how you-
shoot
if
anybody.
Frank,
I
if
know,
Frank
I
went
know.
to
Yeah,
shoot
yeah.
somebody, if Frank went to shoot somebody in the Daredevil show and Karen Page jumped in the way, he would be sad about it. He would feel bad that he shot. Yeah. So my issue with Punisher is how they ended it. I hate that they let him take the shot. I wish that it would have just been a damage control person or a cop or whatever who takes this shot, because I don't know how you get from this point from Punisher
I think they're
feeling
getting
regret
rid of
that
the
he hurt Peter
Punisher.
that way. Like,
I love
I
that
don't
he's
know
let
how.
go.
I think they're going Marvel Comics route for Punisher in the future because of that moment.
I
think
think
he's
they might
done.
be getting. I think he's done. I think they're going to get rid
That's
of the
it.
Punisher.
I think he's done. Period.
Yes.
Unless he's
Yeah.
in cameos.
Yeah,
that's it.
There's a lot of people at Marvel Comics who wanted it. One Joss Whedon wanted. He said, if I was in charge of Marvel Comics, the first thing I'd do is get rid of the Punisher.
The only thing that
one
they
of the
could
raddest
potentially hold on to him for is if you've been looking at some of the press they've been doing, some of the best interactions have been between John Bernthal and Tom Holland. And that, I think, goes a long way in kind of, again, advocating for
but
the film.
It's because Hollywood hates this idea of actually punishing criminals. They think that, oh no, we can all just
Yeah,
be
yeah, for
rehabilitated
sure.
as long
Yeah,
as we
they-
just
yeah.
apologize, then
But-
everything's fine.
Well,
It's like, no, that's
Punisher
not
is
how any of it
child-friendly
works.
in this movie. He's like softened to shit. Like I said, him taking that shot on her is probably my favorite part of the whole movie, and him having to apologize and then tearing up because of the results instead of being so furious with Peter for fucking everything, and then facilitating the escape, like aiding and abetting the worst monster in the movie with Peter. Like, that's major damage on both of them. It's fucking insane. She should be in a prison.
Yes, I think she should have been locked up at the end. That would have been fine. I don't think anybody would
I
have
hate that the
thought
movie
any different.
the movie
let-
wants you to think that like she's got a pass for this because of that horrible history, what happened to her sister, and
Well,
how they tortured
and she's
her.
victimized. Like she's
It's bullshit.
it's the misunderstood, victimized female antagonist. It just is, and it
But
sucks
they-
because it's Jean Grey. It's Jean fucking Grey, and we're not saying she has to be an angel, and she isn't. And you want to set some X-Men stuff up in a fucking X-Men movie, but I do want to say that I fucking love Tom Holland as Spider-Man in this.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
second he was on screen as
great
Peter
job.
Parker and Spider-Man. They kept
did a
his
great
mask
job.
on.
He kept his mask on for like 30 whole minutes. It was like, I
for
was
a long
surprised.
period of time, and I thought he has sold me now. Like, I was not, Tom Holland wasn't in my top 3, but he is now. I think he has become Spider-Man, and he really understands the character. He's become Spider-Man. As far as like Jean DeWolf, she's more of a cheerleader than anything else. I don't know how much she needed to be in the movie, but it didn't bother me.
Not much at all. Yeah.
The lack. My only complaint was, how is he getting his fucking money? And that's all you need to explain. Did
Yeah.
Stark
Yeah.
leave
That's
him
a
a
huge
trust
issue.
fund?
he's still part of the Avengers. They still know who Spider-Man
Well, how do they get paid? We don't even know how the Avengers get paid. to be
Sam
honest with
Wilson can't even get a fucking loan.
How does that work?
I mean,
it out.
people forgot about Spider-Man being Peter Parker. Not like his bank account was wiped. He for sure took some of that Stark money and put it in his own bank account.
I think
got
it's a
money
big
from maybe
payout
Aunt
from
May.
Aunt May's life insurance, but they have to.
Ooh.
I agree totally with what Shad said in the beginning for his spoiler-free review. That's one of the things that bothered me in that opening sequence, where you've seen him live for a couple of years like this, and all those Little Caesars pizzas add up. Okay, like you could tell a little product placement for Little Caesars in this, but. With all the stuff that he has, and he is doing it, on his own there, but with all the stuff that he has, you have to do something, some sort of explanation of why he has that money, how he has that money. And it's little things like that I add
like
up
it-
throughout
I
this
don't
movie.
think most
it is-
people are going to care about that.
That's the
but-
problem. You're not supposed to ask those questions, and that's what I was saying before. Like, they wanted this to be a comic book movie more than a movie that has like real logic.
Well,
to it. They
comic
just
books
don't
explain. I mean,
brush over.
defend-
yeah,
I'm not explaining. I'm
I
just
know,
trying.
I know.
Yeah.
But to
I'm not
defend
giving them out.
comic books from years ago, they absolutely explain that stuff.
He could be doing a photography side job.
No, how about a videographer for the InfoWars of the MCU, working for J. Jonah Jameson,
right?
Doing conspiracy theory shit.
Movie.
You know
I
what?
would say it goes way further than the money issues, by the way. Like, he's not just got technology. He's got a suit that feels just as high tech, if not more, than the Stark suit that he had.
With the
Right.
Evie, yeah.
Yeah, the AI takes care of so many of his fucking problems. Full-on gene editing for his DNA.
That's what I was going to bring up.
Like,
He
this
just
is
pulls that out of
absurd.
his ass. That is world-breaking
See, I'd like
technology,
to
by
see
the way.
Peter-
Like, just like,
Doing that, like
World-breaking
Peter sciencing
technology.
stuff up.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Gary, if you remember, MJ is the one that gives him the key
Yes,
detail to make
yes.
his scientific shit.
Because she
work.
studied it in school.
Such a
But-
fucking
right?
The
idiot.
movie's
both,
not-
both
her
her
first,
and both her and Ned are at MIT studying. What did they make
Yes.
again?
The sciencey stuff.
Whatever.
But the
Like
movie
aerospace or something like that.
isn't void of showing that Peter is smart. He
Right.
clearly knows what he's
Yes.
talking about when he's
Yeah.
talking to Bruce Banner. He figures out the connection of how like that the director guy was lying to him through just
Yeah,
context
but-
clues. Like he figured things out on his own in some ways. Yeah, he's like relying.
Do you
on
remember what
that
Disparu
EVO
said though?
a little bit too much.
He was the what he figures out doesn't actually tell him anything. MJ says, "I don't remember being possessed," which is a lie in terms of when she says she woke up on the street. We know she didn't. She woke up as she was falling. So even Peter knows that. But that's one. Put that to the side. Whether or not people remember getting mind controlled, Peter learns this from MJ apparently. Even though he already learned it from the guy on the roof at the beginning, from Scorpion, from Frank, and from the Hulk. All of them would have told him this. All of them would have said this. For some reason, it's only when MJ says it that he realizes this. But what Metzger says, if you listen to him, can't even be a lie. He says, like, she took control of my mind, and I would have had a woman I lost, like a friend called Sarah, and maybe that's why she thinks of the name Sarah. That's not, you can't prove that as a lie. It's not possible.
No, well, that's how.
Didn't he
That's
say
how. No, that's how.
specifically
Jean,
as
that's
she
how.
was-
Jean,
Yeah,
that's
go
how Jean Grey figures out where his apartment is. She's in his head for that moment, and that's what leads her to the apartment.
But it's
Yeah,
the
you'll
way he
feel the lost
phrased it,
time.
right? I'd have to rewatch the movie, I guess, to get the
This is-
specific line. But doesn't he say, as she was taking control of my mind, I was thinking about a colleague
Yeah,
that I once
there's-
had
so
Yes.
or something.
What it would feel like is you have lost time, and in front of him, you would see a mind controller, and then you would know from the context of other people that's what it's like. So it's not a lie for him to say that that's probably what happened. And then
all of these
Peter, from that, determines that she's innocent. This doesn't prove she's innocent at all. She's already thrown people in front of cars in front of Peter.
Well, I think he just worked, doesn't he? Just work out that he lied at that point, and then he finds out that they took a sister.
It's not a lie.
And
That's why it doesn't
Enough
make
to
sense.
like
Well-
go like what I need to go look into it now. I think that's what it was. It's like
wants
I,
to-
I
he wants
I
to
don't
wasn't
know.
get
At
her
that
out
point,
with
she
me.
thinks
I need to go
he
check it
thinks
out.
she's innocent. That he's that. I keep on wanting to say Damage Incorporated. Hail Metallica, but
Damage control.
Damage Control is not good. I think it's more. Of,
It's enough for him to like, oh, red flag. Let's go to damage control. Let's check it out.
Again,
there
but
are many
So damage.
red flags at that point that make it sort of click with him
Yeah.
that he was
Like-
lying.
Between
there's
VMAX and everything else, yeah.
There's not a lie there. You can, if you lose time and you got a mind controller in front of you, it's perfectly reasonable to assume that's what happened. Peter just guesses. He jumps and he goes straight to damage control, which is. But by the way, what has he got for her? They mentioned several damage control facilities that she's burst into and potentially exploded, killed all kinds of people. It's like, oh, we got Frank. We were wrong about her. No, you weren't. You should fucking shoot her,
Mm.
and he does.
Well,
I
he
mean, I
does.
agree with it, but the thing with damage control, and I think where I would have preferred it to go, is they do it's very similar to Invincible, where it's like, look, the things we are facing are so horrific. We need to take these evil people and use them and mind control them or turn them into robots or whatever to defeat like the greater stuff. And I think that's what they should have done here. Instead, they turn him into like some mustache twirling villain where she's teleporting and he's just like, faster, to make her do it faster, which is what's killing her in the end, just because he can't wait 10 minutes. And so I would have, if they'd like sort of taken her as this evil character and maybe mind wiped her or manipulated her in something to turn her into something that way, rather than doing this redemption arc, I think it would have made more sense. As it is, yeah, throughout the entire movie, she has been killing people indiscriminately all over the place, has absolutely no conscience. And the only reason she gets it is because she talks to Aunt May, who says you can be good. And
She says you can be beautiful, and remember that people love you for you, not because you're special. I thought it was like, man, that's some narcissistic fucking speech. But luckily for us, it stops her from killing innocent people. So there's that.
And you know,
But all of this is a problem from plussing.
Well-
This was originally a more coherent Spider-Man movie, allegedly, but like all of the plussing stuff that changed things, all to prop up Disney stuff. So whereas it could have been just to focus on the Spider-Man stuff, we spend less time with Scorpion, but we spend plenty of time with Yelena. We spend less time with Tombstone. We
And
spend too much
Yelena
time
was
with
so
Fucking
bad.
Yelena.
Like
Bad.
having to deal with the spa, having to go to the
that?
spa,
That
and
was so
Spider-Man
dumb.
being
It is my
stripped
office.
down, and then
Small
her whole
potatoes, small
statement
potatoes.
about like he's little and she's cosmic. It just felt so petty.
That makes no sense because look, Spider-Man's been around with the Avengers before your ass, bitch.
Yes.
Who the fuck are you?
Well, and he also has
He's been
superpowers,
got
too.
fucking flipped by Thanos. He's big potatoes. Like
Yes.
what the
Right.
fuck?
You know why they
come
said that?
in and be like,
just
yeah, like, what
just
the
going
fuck?
back on the possible redemption thing for Jean Grey, right? The only way that actually be able to make a proper convincing redemption arc is for her to take accountability of what she's done, and that's like, you know, poison for, you know, she's a victim,
Yeah.
guys. She's a victim, and therefore what she did was justified because, you know, her sister and everything like that. And so I very much doubt that they're going to manage
But
to
Shad,
convincing.
The Punisher and Spider-Man think she's okay.
Well, that's, you know, they're already trying to push that. That's the whole like Wonder Vision stuff where it's like you tortured these people because, you know, you're going through stuff. that we
Exactly.
understand. It's like,
They'll never know.
gave up
Your
There's always the off
sacrifice,
chance
you know?
that she deals with it in the next movie. You just never know.
Right.
But they should have dealt with it in this.
Oh, absolutely. They should have dealt with
Yes,
this one.
yes.
And that's my main problem with the movie. I feel like all the parts that I really loved about it were none of the Jean Grey crap, and it was just surprisingly Ned and MJ. I've never really loved MJ. Obviously, she's not really MJ. And Ned is okay. He's fine. He's in there. But in this movie, I feel like they finally. I would have rather them not be in it, and it'd be just.
But they're in it.
I
And the
mean,
fact,
but they're
the
in
fact
it,
that they were in it, I
and they
thought
made those scenes work.
Zendaya is
they-
not awful in this
They,
movie.
they made the most
Yeah.
of everything with, to me, with them because it was their absence was a big part of the story as well.
Yeah.
Well,
You know,
right.
like you feel their absence with Tom Holland, with what he's going through every single day, with like the loneliness he's feeling, with the self-absorbed nature of just being Spider-Man, and that's all he has, but he's clearly missing them. So when you get to see them, even though Ned and MJ are not in the movie a lot, they're really not. Their presence is missed throughout it because of what you're feeling with Tom Holland. And then when he
Right.
finally does get to see them temporarily, like it all goes to shit because he feels like he's lost everything.
All
It's
of
quite
their scenes
different.
tie into the A story of this, and the A story is
Yeah.
is Peter Parker dealing with himself, like being alone, and what is that like, and dealing with this new abilities, this mutations, changing him. What
Can't
is
say
that?
that.
It's all tied into his friends and in that storyline. All that stuff worked for me, and I'm like, that's what I wanted to see. I'd love for that movie to be the entirety movie, but it's not. It's got
Right,
Jean Grey.
because the overall tone of the movie is quite different from the other Tom Holland Spider-Man films, and in those you had so many scenes with these other characters, but in this those scenes are not oversaturated. You're not constantly being, you know, beat over the head with these characters, and as Ryan said, their absence is missed, and you really feel that, and you see how that is affecting Peter. And so when they do finally show up, it feels meaningful and not just, hey guys, we're all best friends and we're gonna hang out.
I got a complete different like feeling from this because I think this is tied to me being more invested in No Way Home's story than anyone here. I thought that like the removal of them was the ultimate sort of sacrifice for Spider-Man, that he is making his first major adult decision, that he could recover the relationship with Zendaya and fucking Ned, but he decides when she moves her hair, right, he sees her wound, and he has that expression at the end of No Way Home that's basically just like, me being in their lives hurts them, so it's more worth it for me to go my own way. And I was always like super interested in that because he's so alone, so limited in resources. Like, let's see the movie where things go forward, which I thought we were going to put him in college and work with Spider-Man, Spider-Man stuff, and he would inevitably meet people because that's just how being alive fucking works. And you'd have to deal again with like building new relationships. Could it be, Black Cat or get the Osborns in, any new characters, because we have done that trilogy. Instead, the film launches with him watching them. And I was already like, oh, fuck. And it's like been 5 years and he's still pining, still stalking, still like catching him. And the second he gets the chance, he trails Ned. And like, that's
5 years later, he's still missing his friends. Yeah.
Right.
Sucks.
Well, no,
It's a
but
case of
those friends are like a miscast. I think they need to get rid of MJ and Ned and bring in, like, Harry Osborn should be his best friend at this point, right? They need to start setting up what they want to do. And we've already mentioned Black Cat, another one. And it was an opportunity for them to move past the mistakes, I reckon, that they had with MJ and bring in Mary Jane proper. And
for sure.
But now they're latching on to the past.
For it to be a heroic sacrifice, you have to sacrifice something.
Yeah.
If he'd gone to Doctor Strange and said, well, everyone's going to forget who you are, including your friends, but you can just say hello to them in 5 minutes, it'll be fine. That it completely undermines doing it in the first place. They should have done something where if they find out who you are, the spell unwinds. There has to be some kind of consequence for going back on the reason you did it in the first place.
But
it's been like
4 years.
Was it
Graduating
years?
from college.
5 years?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but why was it
It's
years? He
been a
could have
good
just walked up to them and said, oh, do you know me?
Yeah, but
Because he was trying to make the sacrifice. He was trying to say it is better that these people are not a part of my life because Aunt May died. I don't want these other people to get hurt. Look at the several years of me being Spider-Man and how it did hurt them and put them in danger. And so I feel like he did make that sacrifice. It's just that he finally came to the conclusion of what Aunt May was saying the whole time, is that you cannot do this alone and you need some sort of support system. And that's when he finally said, I don't have to just be Spider-Man. I can be Spider-Man and Peter Parker. And he came to that realization towards the end of the film.
But
like Batman Forever.
Surely the criticism here is not that could happen. It's that the writers forced this to happen instead of giving him new friends, new characters, new scenarios, new situations in which he could move on. Because people have left lives behind in the world and you move on to a new one. It can happen. Instead, they made it so he met nobody. He avoided everybody, except, of course, his connections with the police, with the Avengers, with the damage control people. He's in and with all of them, taking orders from them and like having somewhat distant relationships. But I guess he just never met anyone new and pined after them until finally giving up and going to action.
Well, that would be the argument, right? That would be the argument that he shouldn't get close to people. That was his entire intention, was to not get close to anybody, because then he would be putting them in danger. Like, from that perspective, he was going it alone, period. It's not about meeting new people, because then those people are in the same situation that anybody else
and I'm saying, the writers had a choice, and they put Ned and MJ back in the fucking film when they could have given us new people for him to make those choices with. Say, for example, he crosses paths with someone like a Black Cat or Dr. Connors continuously. He's staying away. He's making sure I'm not making friends. I'm not making connections. I can't do it. But like different scenarios keep drawing him into it. Instead, the writers are like, no, we're bringing back Ned and MJ.
I agree that would be better. It would absolutely be better. But what they did do, I don't feel like it was cheap. They could have easily just brought them back in and been like, oh, now we're friends again. I love you again.
Yeah. Well, we can discuss, like, at the end, does MJ remember sitting on the roof? Kind of looks like she does. And Ned remembers. But they went the whole movie, and they even did that twist on the roof, which I liked, and when Jean Grey was in MJ's head, and like, these are two characters I couldn't give a fuck about, and couldn't wait to get rid of. And I thought they had a really good ending in No Way Home, but I don't know. I'm not so sure if John Watts came back that they, like, Zendaya would be in the movie still.
She might be contracted to do this.
Yeah.
Same with fucking Ned.
I think they were setting it up to meet them again anyway. I think it
damaged the film, though, because like Ned does just get the cop-out ending of he's going to be his friend again. MJ, she tells him, I'm not the same girl, I don't love you, which is something I would have thought he'd have intuitively. But question, Gary, if I came to you brand new and you had no idea who I was, and I
told me you didn't love me anymore,
I told you
I'd be sad.
5 years ago we fought big I don't know, space-time rip, whatever, and I had to make a choice where I erase your memory of me, but I'd like to, like, be friends again. And then you find out, like, in a detailed way, like, I was a significant portion of your life. Now, is your first thought like, MauLer, you don't understand, like, I don't know you, I can't be your friend? Or would your thought be, holy fuck, you killed me, I'm not even the person I'm supposed to be. Every interaction I've ever had with you that relates to anything else has been erased. My life is a lie.
Well, this is the interesting part, and this is why I wish they'd gone deeper into some of the things.
She starts to go there in that conversation, and then they just kind of stop it. But I don't know how I'd feel. I'd be all like, I don't know. I'd be more curious. I wouldn't be mad.
Well, I assume you wouldn't believe me.
I'm just saying I'm going to believe you and say, wow, dude, you know what? The drugs are good. But maybe you should stay off them. No, I don't know. I don't know if I would like so I would have questions of like, what else have you erased, motherfucker? But
that's kind of what I'm getting at. If you knew for sure I was telling the truth and that you had lost all portions of your life that either are with me or even relate to me tangentially. So if there was a party that was my birthday or whatever, that's all gone, and everything you did there is gone. It's like, I don't know. I feel like one, you'd be like, motherfucker, you erased my memory, and then two, how do I get me back? Is that me dead?
Is that possible? Yeah. Is that part of me dead? Is this a totally different me? These are interesting questions. She does start to get into that, though. She does say, wait, woo, this is not your choice. You know, it was not your choice to do.
She gets into it about as much as Punisher gets into his fucking philosophy with Spider-Man.
Goddamn, that scene was frustrating when he opened the door, when he was talking to Spidey about their difference of philosophies. Like, this is a sentence, what I'm in. Yeah. And then they just stop.
Yeah, and then
I'm
they
like,
stop.
I feel like there was more.
And then they cut it. Yeah, and then go to Jean Grey.
This is a lifestyle choice. This is a sentence for me. I have to live my life like this.
Yeah, dude, and like shit. You know, I don't want to get too personal here, but you know what? When you're separated from your friends and you're looking at them from the outside, that's a really shitty feeling. Okay, I'll just tell you that it's a shitty feeling. I've been through it. So,
but to continue, MauLer, it's the same when he was talking to Banner, and he's like, "I need to turn off my DNA." And he's like, "Well, how do you know that DNA isn't like a natural thing that has to be expressed in order to be you?" Is an interesting idea. It's the same with memories, but they will say something like that and it just vanishes off into the ether. I felt it was the same with his mutation. It just kind of, I thought it'd been really interesting and then just kind of exists and never.
That's why it feels like there's two movies. There's a movie about his mutation and his friends and his loneliness, and then there's the Jean Grey crap. And it's just like every time they cut away from the stuff that you want to like delve into, it's always cutting to some Jean Grey crap. Like
Shad, you were saying about like world-breaking mechanics. He's created a mutant neutralizer, but not just mutants.
Well, that's the setup.
I know, but like that's a fucking insane technology. It even works on the Hulk and Spider-Man.
Yes, that is a technology that I would expect
it works
Tony Stark would have worked on for a year.
But not on. So Savage Hulk.
It does work on Savage Hulk, just not when he is Savage Hulk.
Not through
because it couldn't pierce his skin.
Right, it couldn't penetrate his skin.
It could pierce it. Like that can.
Well, I would argue it wouldn't work. I even if you got it through his skin, I would argue it wouldn't work on Savage Hulk. Savage Hulk kicked Jean Grey out of his head. He's the one who kicked Jean Grey out. She couldn't get back in. Yeah.
Right.
You already have the inhibitor though, right? That he had previously. He says like explicitly without that. He's not safe.
Which is inconsistent because I thought he had worked things out with the big guy.
Well, this is what I mean about the fucking ritual humiliation. He's constantly torn to shreds, the Hulk. He's such a worthless character in the MCU at this point. But by the way, Gary, I very much wanted to ask you. I was gonna grab a message of it. The Hand. How do you feel about
that? K-pop band now.
Yeah.
I like like the fight scenes. Looked really cool. The fight scenes looked fucking amazing. The Uber ninja assassin organization becoming a bunch of lost kids who just needed a good leader.
They are working for an organization that's like abducting people.
That's evil.
People's
well,
powers.
that's supposed to set up.
You know what I mean?
It's supposed to set up like because Metzger is part in the comics is part of an organization that hates mutants, right? So the takeaway from this, for me, ultimately, Spider-Man is a hero. I loved how they showed heroism here, and that the X-Men should be hated and feared and locked up because they're very dangerous.
Well, we're well on the way to that.
And hey, now we have the universal inhibitor, and so now the mutants are going to have a bigger problem.
This turn,
definitely trust Disney with that message.
The Department of Damage Control, by the way, I think is kind of fucking insulting considering Tony helped build the DODC and Metzger. I don't know where he came from, just out of nowhere. This like Mengele-style monster that, for some reason, none of the people who work at DODC seem to take issue with, but runs away in shame by the end of the movie, meaning that the DODC still run. And the hand, if the explanation is that they're kind of evil and that's why the hand is also there, I don't think that accounts for them just stabbed into the fucking office when they have their own goals, values, and like whole institution. And on top of that, what is everyone else's opinion on the fact that they have the hand just walking around in DODC? Like, what the fuck? Like, it's
the way Peter went, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah, like
but that's what I'm like. But
they
I
had a
think Peter's been
telepath.
horribly handled, like, and Punisher. Like, they should be doing more about all that. They should have done more about Hulk. They should have done more about Jean. They should have done more about basically every event in this film. But they just
Not
don't.
that
Like, they're all
explains it.
softened.
If they bring back the hand, and that's a big if. I mean, the hand got fucked up in Defenders when
Yeah.
Sigourney Weaver was
Big
fucking
time.
running them.
Yeah.
But the hand could easily come back and go, yeah, we don't claim them. They're calling themselves the hand, but they ain't the fucking hand.
We can do a Mandarin situation.
Yeah.
yeah.
What they'd already researched a telepath. They could have just said they were mind controlled or something, but instead it was
Why
like, no,
not?
they just needed a daddy figure.
They already had it set up that he fought them in some nondescript opening montage thing, put them in a prison in DODC, and then Jean releases them to attack Peter or whatever. You could have just done that.
Yeah.
Instead, they're office workers. They're just standing around like,
Right, they're the personal bodyguards of the DODC.
yes.
Yeah, what do they do in the downtime?
Play
Iron
songs.
their
I get-
robes.
I
Chill
thought
by
we were
the
going to get
water.
like
One of the
a
hobbies of the hand.
like fucking overestimated Cretin on this. I thought he was going to give us like a quicker and more reasonable explanation, but it's as funny as it is in the film. They're just standing there. Peter's like, wait, what? Is that just the hand? Okay.
I'll give Cretin this. He did a way fucking better job on this than Shang-Chi. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
he did. That's how I feel.
I actually like the fights in Shang-Chi, at least one of them, right? The
think
bus
that,
fight's
Like
not
the
the
fight,
worst,
you
and
don't
then
like
A
any
lot
of the
of the
fights. You don't
combat
like
in this
any
was
fights in
good.
this movie, MauLer.
that's not what I said.
Okay.
I'm saying that if the fights would have put this above Shang-Chi, that it should be said that Shang-Chi's fights aren't actually that bad.
Okay.
Like the fight he has with the death stick dealer.
They had an OG choreographer for that.
But that fight was cool.
I
That's why
liked him when
people
Shang-Chi
thought-
got kicked in the balls by his sister in his own fucking movie.
But yeah, the like that fight was cool, and that's why people had hope for this in terms of the fight scenes. And I think they've come through. I like the fight scenes, but I was saying on Open Bar, like, it's hard for me to care about fight scenes if none of the characters are acting like themselves. It's all bullshit.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Can I say superficially the look of the movie, the cinematography and the color? Thank God there's color in the MCU
yeah.
again. Like Jesus,
Dude, that
like,
first shot where
there's
he's
shadows again. Oh my God.
sitting
So
upside
funny.
down on the city, I thought that was cool as hell.
was.
Forcing in a bunch of comic book covers. I fucking loved it. I'm fine with it. Of course, they don't look as good as the actual comic book covers, but like they're there. And other Spider-Man movies have done that as well. They're not the first to do this, but you know, I see AF-15. I was talking to Yellow Flash about this. I see AF-15 and it's like, oh, our value's going up on our comics. Yeah.
So at the beginning, when he is first swinging across the city, that is almost a copy and paste from the Insomniac game, from Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's what my son was telling me.
Yeah.
The entire movie. This is from the game, Dad.
Yes, it is. Like when they're in the
Done,
cage
yeah.
at the DODC and he's fighting the hand for the last time with the web cyclone, that's from the game. A lot of the like pulling people in and then kicking them, that's from the game.
Yeah.
The arm, I guess it's not just like an elbow punch, but drawing them in and then hitting them with his forearm, that's from the game. Like a lot of the combat really felt like they tried their best to mimic sort of his movement and his actions throughout those titles.
I want to play that game now. I have it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those
from
are
like
cool
the
shots,
visual
too, the
effects
eyes.
stuff, I didn't have the best seat, but everything looked good to me. You know what I mean? I there was nothing that like stood out as, oh, that's a bad shot, or that's a bad VFX shot. But
The worst VFX shot is the AF-15 cover, and I still liked it, but
yeah,
it's not.
and that was
it's
like
not
a
good.
stylized looking one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I was slowed it down.
I was kind of disappointed with the web swinging segments. Like I feel like they
Really?
weren't-
I fucking thought they were awesome.
They were good, but they weren't like peak web swinging. I was really hoping there would be like a
Dude,
different
the fan
but
boy
I've seen
slash
better.
man in me loved a lot of this. You know, just you know, waiting for Tom Holland to be Spider-Man, having such a great performance, and again,
that cost.
I don't know. The emotional beats were pretty good. I would have much preferred that he had moved on with Felicia Hardy or Gwen Stacy and the Osbournes or the Real Male. I would have much, but they were in the movie, and I don't think that sucked. I liked a lot of the scenes.
And for the ending, I'm curious what everybody else's take on it. So there's been like some speculation online already, as the internet is going to do, about the very end when he is shot. There are people that believe that his heart basically stopped, and Jean was able to basically kickstart it. And when she was keeping him breathing and bringing him to the hospital, that had given like him a chance to break the spell. And that is why at the end, when Ned is doing the handshake, it's like, because he technically died, that gave an out for the spell to be broken with people he has a deep connection with.
I thought she was just gonna snap her fingers and undo the spell because she was aware of it.
I think that it is.
I'm surprised they didn't.
You also have muscle memory. That's
what I think it is.
Right.
I think it's muscle
That's what I was
and also the fact that she says, when he leaves the apartment, she says, "Good luck, Peter." And I think that's when he makes the connection.
And then he makes the connection at the end. Oh yeah,
last night. I was like,
that's a good point.
Yeah, that I completely forgot about that.
Name is Peter.
But I think it would have been a good idea. I think MauLer brought it with Dr. Donna, is put that caveat on the spell. Like, if anybody remembers, it all goes back. You know,
just like you got much more Ned on the way.
Yeah, I think what the like future should be, I guess, is that if you're going to reconnect with these people, they're not going to remember who you are. You're going to have to build that basically up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not like Peter's going to be able to be like, Ned, we had all these experiences. Let me give you a fucking list of all the things we've felt and experienced and gone through together over the past 10 years of our lives. It's like, hey, at one point we knew each other, and I'd like to kind of get to know you again and be friends again.
Worked in 50 First Dates. I mean, you know,
is that gonna be like, was I in love with you?
He's like, I mean, kind of, yeah.
Like, it's annoying to me because they did have an out when MJ actually says, "I don't know you and I don't love you." They could have used that as the final nail in the coffin for him letting her go and moving on. But then they don't. They want to latch onto it because they actually want to double down that they want this MJ to be Mary Jane. She's not, but
it's not.
Marvel still wants that.
But she is, though.
The fact that they're married, I
don't
think,
want her to be,
plays into
but she
this
is.
too. And yes, they have chemistry, but being married doesn't guarantee you have chemistry on screen. It just doesn't. But they do.
I just think it's like way more powerful for the character to decide that his influence on them was negative enough that he's going to protect them, instead of finding out, well, she's not the same girl, so she won't love you, and so you can't do that, and she's a boyfriend or whatever.
And he ignored that hot chick in his apartment building.
Yeah,
and wore her clothes.
So close.
I like that scene. Is that my shirt? No.
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 And then as he's walking away, she sees the pants.
Juicy.
It's like, no, I live here. I got to get my clothes.
Again, Peter can science, okay, but usually he goes to Empire State. You know, maybe he'll have some test tube. I'm going old, but he has test tubes and stuff in his apartment. But usually he needs to go somewhere else.
Funny that his AI says your mechanical webs are incompatible with your natural webs. It's like, no, they're not. You could just put them further down your arm, or you can put them on the other side.
Yeah, put them on the other side. You can have double web.
Exactly.
I was like, how? Why would it work like that? Put him on the back.
It's a fucking exposition mongrel, that AI, when he's like panicking and all of the shit, the visuals and everything, and it's like, your senses are overloaded. Like,
you know what she reminds me of? She reminds me of do you ever watch the clip of like the modern day Mario where it's like 3D? Mario's walking and he's got like fucking shit talking in his head, like, Mario, got to get to the end of this thing, and he's like, all right, I'll be there in a minute.
Well, like, that's I don't think it was necessary at all. Like, you know, the whole distance thing, I think like he could have figured that out from watching the jumps.
It was 33 feet, right?
Yeah, 33 feet.
Yeah, 33.
Somebody's a Mason. Just saying.
Why 33?
It's like he's like kind of desperately like trying to get through like the city to keep up with that shit, and he like basically says, hey, analyze this stuff while you're going. The AI is a little OP for what Peter.
A little
like,
OP.
I guess technically his entire his AI from the very start of his entire conception has been OP. We have yet to see this Spider-Man without an OP fucking AI.
So
that was weird though as a plot point because they did this whole thing of, well, you can recognize me when you're Spider-Man, but when you're in this sort of evolved mutant state, you can't see me in possessing people. But the AI could detect it easily because every time someone got possessed, they acted weird and jumped all over the place.
I
And
feel
stuff.
like you and I could detect it pretty easily. It's just
Yeah.
people
Yeah,
go,
it was like something out of the
Spasm.
Matrix, like spinning backwards and everything.
again, like it's Sadie Sink wasn't bad as Jean Grey, and the concept of the villain was fine. It's the result. It's the lack of ramifications at the end, the lack of consequences, the lack of accountability is jarring, and it can't be overlooked. And it's a really strange way to set up your X-Men. So again, back to what my friend said is that they're setting them up, and it's supposed to be like, well, we want the X-Men to be good guys, but they're not all good guys. So that's how they're going to look at it, is like that the people against the X-Men might have a good point. Well, then they pulled it off because the people against the X-Men might have a good point. I don't know if they're going to stick with that. And I think it's a huge mistake. You knew they were going to do it, but doing the hated and feared, even Gail fucking Simone did a list on Twitter where she said, this is how you fix the X-Men. And one of the things was stop doing hated and feared. It's fucking played out. It's really dated to the 80s now. And it's like, make the X-Men heroes again. And they can be complicated. And there's bad ones. Of course, there's Magneto. But yeah, it just looks like I like the Emma Frost casting. Thought it was good. They got a hot blonde woman. But I mean, I don't know if that's the way to go. And then you're doing it in a Spider-Man movie where you clearly were contractually, you couldn't say mutant.
Yeah. I will say, like, we are seeing a Professor X influenced Jean Grey, so maybe she's more wild and more.
She's a little more.
Yeah,
The problem is you're never going to bring that in.
That's the problem, is that she's a murderer. If she was not a murderer, she was just like, doing things that are a little reckless.
Ryan was right. Just not have her kill people. That's all you had to do.
Yeah, like that guy that steps back into the car in the beginning.
Don't do that.
Without that, do we have another like
detonation?
The bomb
the bomb goes off? Do we have another person that we know died? Because like that's the one murder we have.
There's only speculation beyond the murders.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But she tries to kill lots of people.
She tried to kill MJ, throw her off a building.
To be clear,
She shoots Spider-Man with a gun.
I am actually okay if she only kills high-ranking members of the DODC. I would be okay with that.
Okay.
I think it's like justifiable if someone's fighting against this organization.
But some random 58-year-old
some poor woman,
like justifiable to make an argument about.
But it's not a character though. All like just the introduction of Jean Grey, who, I mean, is like one of the more softer X-Men. Who's like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Like when she's not Phoenix, like early
she
on,
is the most boring X-Men. That's why they did Phoenix and then Dark Phoenix, because she was the most boring X-Men.
But we're not there yet. So like,
well, now this is the gene that's going to turn Bobby gay.
Oh God, probably.
No, Bobby.
No, this gene would turn Bobby gay just for shits and giggles. Watch, I'm going to turn this guy gay. So real quick, I don't know how much time you got, MauLer. The post-credit scene, which was just an app in 16-bit, which is the Spidey tracker, and they show it, and they show a Spidey like deep in the universe. So, I mean, a lot of people were thinking, oh, they're setting up for Secret Wars, right? I think it's Miles Morales.
What? I mean, could it be?
But it's not
already leaked, right?
Spider-Man.
Toby opening in Doomsday.
Yes,
Okay.
I thought it was
There you go.
Toby's, yeah.
Or Battle World.
My
Toby.
first guess would be the prologue for Doomsday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
No,
it doesn't make any
makes
sense because the Spidey tracker isn't that just people that report?
Yeah,
being
I know,
Spidey,
yeah.
So why would somebody in
Yeah.
space fucking? That makes no sense.
I don't think it's supposed to be taken super 100% literal. I think you're supposed to be like,
Yeah.
No, exactly. It's supposed to be. It's somebody in the chat asked, "Would I just passed up? Would Vecna beat Jean Grey?" No, Jean Grey would make Vecna her prison bitch.
She would crush him so easily.
Yeah.
Well,
She's Omega level. Like she's
Yeah.
Yes, she is.
As far as mental powers, like Professor X is all over her.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Gary, you could correct me. Like Jean Grey's focus, especially when she's just starting out, her powers should be telekinesis, not telepathy. Like they've kind of reversed that, to my understanding.
Well, she eventually people call her an Omega level mutant, but she becomes an Omega level telepath, and it's her telekinesis that's not as powerful. So there is some what I recall. There is some debate on, is she actually Omega level mutant or Omega level telepath? I say she's an Omega level mutant, even without the Phoenix Force.
It's kind of funny how this is, like you guys were saying, it's such a perfect opportunity for her to be out and out, basically evil, and then for Professor X to put the blocks up to set that all up for their X-Men shit in this movie. If they're gonna make her that evil,
maybe.
But that's not what.
Well, it's too late now because she's good now.
Yeah, it was justified. She was just, traumatized youth, and it was all a mistake.
Shad, it was kind of crazy too, because she didn't even know her sister was tortured to death. She just knew they were captured.
Yeah.
She was doing all that. And to be fair, they should have been taken away if they were mind raping people.
Well, that's true as well. Like the arrest of the sister was justified based on what they were doing, and so.
But it's a weird instinct in the first place. My sister got kidnapped, so now I'm going to kill this random guy in the street.
I'm going to force an innocent old lady into a tank with a bomb into the Department of Corrections. Like, what the fuck?
That's why if it's Emma Frost, it kind of makes it all okay. It does if it's Emma Frost.
One of the things that I think, I guess are we done talking about the spoilers?
I can bring it back up.
You can bring it back up.
With Yelena, that's the thing to me that I feel like was added. Because because I think the Yelena stuff was added in reshoots, especially once they realized that Doomsday was going to be after. Because that easily could have been like the information that he gets from her easily could have been replaced by something else in the story. And it makes no sense for if Doomsday were to have happened, then this movie and then like Secret Wars. I don't think that it's going to make sense once we see Doomsday. You know what I mean? So I think the Yelena stuff may have been added just to show them kind of big reference to the new Avengers active right now.
I have no reason to trust Doomsday.
Can we talk about the Yelena stuff for a second? Because there's one thing we didn't point out. The idea that she forces Spider-Man to disrobe and then get in the tub with her. Reverse that.
Oh yeah. No.
Take all your clothes off.
People
So I
will
can
say,
you don't have any bugs.
she was naked too, and I'm all, that doesn't change it. You reverse that. It never fucking happened.
There's a wine stain.
Put a male in that role. Disrobe. Get in the tub with me.
Yeah, and like she's naked in the tub, and she's forcing him to like
strip down. She's like, "This is my office, and these are my rules."
And you have to come in a meeting with me while I'm naked and just deal with it. It's like, what?
Nerdrotic.com. Please subscribe.